Previously.
Orange County Sheriff's Office, this line is being recorded. This is Operator Cadenas. How may I help you?
I'm trying to figure out what my rights are, what the law permits before I give information.
Sir, I'm not going to answer any questions.
Okay, can you give me somebody who can?
Okay, one moment. I'm not a deputy. I'd be happy to have a deputy question you or but answer your questions. Hold on a second.
All right.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
I got a detective on the line.
Okay, thank you.
Hello?
Hey.
Hey, who am I talking to?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out what my rights are, what the public's rights are in regards to reporting a dead body. Like, what if there's any statutes that require me to do X, Y, or Z, or to not do X, Y, or Z. I'm just trying to get that information.
You said as to reporting a body?
Yeah.
Okay, so like reporting a death?
Yeah, a dead body. Like, I called the medical examiner, and they said that they would always contact you guys or law enforcement. And I asked if they had any statute like requiring the public to contact you guys, and they didn't know. And so you guys seem like the next logical choice to call to figure that out.
Gotcha. So your question is the legality of reporting a death.
But yeah, just want to make sure that I'm protected. I know my rights, and know, like, I don't want to break a law if there's some law saying that I can't touch the body or move the body or call in the body or anything like that.
Right. Okay. Did you look up the Florida state statutes that are online?
Yeah, I didn't find anything. The stuff I found was it sounded like it was like the commercial business, like funeral homes and cemeteries and stuff like that. But it didn't sound like there was anything specifically directed to the general public, other than I think the ones talking about a duty to report. I think that's point 12, and that's to the medical examiner's office. So I didn't find anything with like requiring people to report it to law enforcement. But the lady that answered the phone for you guys said that that the public should call 911. It's an emergency, and I'm not finding that in the law, and I think I disagreed. It's not necessarily an emergency.
I gotcha. Well, if you disagree on the interpretation of it, it's better to play on the safe side and report it rather than to interpret that however you wish, because the way the laws are written, obviously written by legislature, and the way that one interprets them can be wrong. There's certain words that can be thrown there that are confusing. One thing might mean something completely different than what you think. So, looking at 406.12, yeah, there is a duty to report. And it does say, the duty of any person in the district where a death occurs, including all municipalities and unincorporated and federal areas, who becomes aware of the death of any person occurring under the circumstances described in 406.11. 406.11.
And it lays out it lays out a list of things like suicide.
How people could die.
Yeah.
It's basically any death, really.
I didn't read that way. Like, there's certainly, and then from talking to the medical examiner's office, they don't take every death, right? Every death in the county doesn't go through the ME's office, because they use that criteria to eliminate the majority of deaths from going through their office. So I don't think that saying that it's any death is accurate. I think majority of deaths don't fall into that category, and that's why I would say that it seems to me like a catch-22. Like they're putting. It sounds like the legislator is saying, "Hey, public, you're required to report a death to the ME's office, but in order to figure out when you're required to do it, you have to first conduct your own autopsy of the body to determine if the death fits one of these 10 criteria in point 11, and that doesn't sound reasonable to me. Like, I'm not gonna necessarily try to figure out how this person died to figure out if I'm required to report it to the ME's office. That's why I'm like, I don't know. And that's the only one I found on that. I didn't know if there's something else about reporting it to law enforcement, because I keep getting that response from the ME and from a funeral home and from like the ladies that were on the phone prior to you. So
no, the legislature is definitely not telling a citizen of the general public to conduct an autopsy. That would definitely be incorrect. So you're correct on that assumption. And it says, let me see here. Well, in any of the following circumstances, involving the death of human being, the medical examiner of the district in which the death occurred or where the body was found shall determine the cause of death. So yeah, that clearly states that it is the medical examiner's responsibility to determine the cause of death.
right.
For that purpose, make or perform such examinations, investigations, and autopsies as he or she deems necessary, or as requested by the state attorney. When any person dies in the state of criminal violence, by accident, or suicide suddenly, when in apparent good health, unattended by a practicing physician, or other recognized, you read that one.
Right. Yeah, it's .11.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's all encompassing.
no, I mean, it doesn't sound like any death. That's why the majority of deaths aren't. They don't go through the ME's office. So I guess my
So what's your question?
Yeah, my dilemma is, like, if I don't report a body, am I breaking the law? Because I can't determine how this person died. I don't know if it's one of these criteria, and I don't want to be in. I don't want to be a suspect. I don't want to be in some database somewhere. But I also have concern that maybe a family is missing this loved one, and maybe they want to know. So.
Right. Yeah, and that comes to the human side of us. Like, when you come across somebody who appears to be deceased, you obviously have that obligation to report that. And we don't expect you to know how that person died. If you know, awesome. If you don't know, okay, that's fine. We go to death calls all the time where somebody stumbled upon somebody else. So that's it. That's all it is.
Okay. You're saying that I do have an obligation to report it?
You do. Yeah, there is a charge for failure to report.
And what is that one? Where does that one come from?
That is 40612.
Okay.
So if you read the end of this, it says, let me find the beginning of that. Any person.
Yeah, it's a class A misdemeanor, but right, or class 1, something like that.
Yeah, it's a misdemeanor.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
First degree.
Right. So, but again, you have to go to 11, and I don't know the circumstances of the death. Right. I can't determine whether it's any of these things that would require me to report it.
That's why 40611 specifically appoints the medical examiner.
Right.
Of the district.
Right. So that's why I'm saying, like, it doesn't sound like I'm obligated.
Not the person that's fine.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't sound like I'm obligated to report it, because I don't know if any of these criteria in 11 are accurate. So.
Well, we're not asking you. We're not asking you in order to determine that.
Isn't that what 12 says? 12 says that I have the duty to report only if it's in the circumstances outlined in 11. And 11 says, if it's a suicide or a homicide, or if you're in the care of a physician and you die, evident good health and you die. Like, I don't know any of that, whether that's the case or not. So I don't know if those criteria apply, because it's just a body.
Okay, but without touching, without conducting an autopsy, this would fall under a general category of any suspicious or unusual circumstance.
Oh, death is a part of life, right? That's not suspicious. Like, people die all the time.
I'm not asking about whether or not it's a part of life. I'm asking you, so you're saying then it's common? Are you saying that it's not suspicious or unusual?
I mean, do I come across dead bodies every day? No, but I wouldn't necessarily mean because I come into something happens once doesn't necessarily make it suspicious. It may be irregular, but I wouldn't say that's unusual. It's usual that people die. It's usual that,
Well, I think that you're getting really into the definition of whatever those words mean to you, which, for the law, how you are interpreting that's not what the law is asking. The law is telling you, hey, this is what we're saying, this falls under these words. And then the process of the court then goes through that, and they can argue over what the definition of one word is or one word isn't.
Okay. Does it have that? I know some statutes they lay out, or some chapters they'll lay out definitions of the words. Like, does it say out what is a suspicious death, or what is suspicious circumstances for a death? Like, I didn't find anything like that. So it sounds like it is up to me to determine whether or not something is suspicious to me.
Right. No, not before the sunshine. And if you go to, there's another website, thefloridabar.org, which has the criminal jury instructions for all crimes in Florida, pretty much.
Right.
And there is one. Let's see here, I'll try and find it for you. And it's for failure to report. They're not always where you would think they're not always in the category you think they are. Like failure to report is not under the Chapter 7 for homicide.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anyways, so the jury instructions break down like what is required in order to meet a certain criminal offense. Somewhere within here is the failure to report, and it breaks it down as to what it is. So your questions as to like, okay, is it, and what do I have to do?
Yeah.
They break it down. Try to find it for you. Let me see here. But if you have a computer in front of you, you can pull it up as well and look too.
No, I don't have that. I just want to make sure that I'm not breaking any laws and that I know my rights and stuff.
I got you. Well, what are these? What's these hypothetical circumstances?
I mean, it's not necessarily hypothetical. I'm just before I give information or take action or something. I just want to make sure that I'm covered.
I got you. What do you mean covered? Covered as in what?
Like legally, like that I'm within within my rights, or not going outside the bounds of the law. Like my understanding, the way that I've read these, it sounds like I don't have to report a body unless I keep in
mind that's also how you're interpreting it. Or did you go to law school?
Why?
I'm just asking. Did you go to law school?
Why does that matter? Is the law not written for the public?
I agree with you in that sentiment. It should be. But what it should be and what it is are two different things.
Okay.
So, do you want to take that chance of?
Well, that's why I'm calling, right? I'm calling to try to make sure to mitigate the risk, right?
Right. I'm giving you an answer. Yeah. I'm giving you an answer, but you're still arguing against the answer that I'm giving.
Yeah. Your answer sounds like it's based on your interpretation. Like you're saying, mine's on my interpretation. But there's nothing.
No, I'm reading this. So, if you're calling looking for an answer, giving you the answer based off of what the statute says, and your interpretation is different than what the
No, I don't think my interpretation is different than what the statute says. I think mine is in line with what it says. I just didn't know if there's any other statute or if there's something else like requiring me. Because the answer I keep getting from like the ME and the funeral home, they're saying, and even like the ladies on the phone before you, they're saying, oh, the public needs to call 911. And I'm like, okay, well, why? Why do people say that needs, like they're required to? Is there a statute backing that, or is this just like a feeling, a sentiment, like a best practice? And I can't find any statute requiring me or anyone in the public to call 911 or to call law enforcement to report a dead body. The closest thing I found is the dot 12 and that's a requirement to call the medical examiner if the person thinks that it's one of the things listed in point 11, and I don't think it's one of the things in 11, so I would say that doesn't even apply. So is there something that requires me to call law enforcement?
Doesn't say if the person thinks that.
Well,
if the person died in one of the states that is listed in 40611.
Right. And how's a person to know?
They're not directing you to conduct an autopsy.
Well, right. How am I supposed to know if any of those circumstances are the circumstances of the death? Like you want me to? It sounds like the legislators wanting me to think. Is it one of these things? If it is, then call the ME and report the death. Right? It doesn't say if you find a body, call 911. They'll send out somebody that does an investigation and will determine if it's A, B, C, D, or E. It doesn't say, oh, you need to call a doctor. The doctor needs to do an examination and determine A, B, C, D, and E, and then you're required to make a call to the ME. Right? Clearly, this is written for the public, for anybody, to engage in thinking and determine, okay, is this A, B, C, D, or E? And if so, then I need to call the ME and report the body. But I don't know if it's A, B, C, D, or E. Like, I'm not going to touch it or do an examination on it. I'm just curious, like, how do I protect myself and not, become a suspect in some kind of investigation?
I gotcha. Well, what do you have to lose by doing the right thing if your interpretation is that you don't have to report it? What do you have to lose to that?
Like, if I don't report it, is that what you're saying?
No. If you do report it, if you do the right thing, if you do what any reasonable person does, because here's what I'm asking. So I was in your situation at one point when I was in college over in Polk County. Me and my buddy, we went fishing.
Yeah.
And there's a chain of lakes over there.
Yeah.
So we went fishing, and when we get out there, we see this guy laying on the ground next to the body of water. And we figured, there's a pretty big homeless population over there. So, but whatever. It's not out of the ordinary for somebody to be there sleeping,
sure,
camping out, whatever. So we were being loud while talking and fishing. And then he's like, I wonder if that guy's, alive. You think that guy's okay? I don't know. I really, don't know the guy. I'm not going to go bother him. If he's sleeping, we wake him up, he's going to be mad. Well, my buddy went over anyways, and he's like, hey, that guy's face is, decomposing. He's dead.
Yeah.
So, of course, at the time, I have no experience with dead bodies, so we freak out. We run away from that scene. We run back to the roadway to our truck. We call 911. They come out. We wait around. They do their investigation. They're like, okay, yeah, the guy's dead. And then we end up waiting for the detectives. We get interviewed by the detectives. We're like, yeah, this is what we did. Came out here for fishing. Found this guy. We called it in. That's it. We don't know the guy from Adam.
Right.
And that's exactly how it went. It actually turned out to be a failure to report a death case where this gentleman ended up overdosing. His friend knew it, and then his friend ditched him and left.
Yeah.
And they ended up charging him for the failure to report a death. And it's also improper disposal of a body, too. So that's what that turned into. So as far as your questioning goes, I've actually got unwanted experience with that. So my question to you is, what do you have to lose for reporting someone's death?
Well, I could be the subject of investigation, right? I could be the primary suspect, and yeah, like I could lose my liberty, right? Like the law enforcement can take away my liberties and throw me in a cage somewhere, try to force me to ask questions or to pin the death on me, or so yeah, that's a lot, everything. What do I have to lose? Everything.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So, and coming from someone that has been in those shoes, when I stumbled upon the body, you could say that for the first few hours of that investigation, me and my buddy were probably suspects to those investigators. And then once they verified what we told them, hey, we don't know this guy, we just came here for fishing, so on and so forth, then they were able to exclude us as suspects and classify us as witnesses, which, honestly, it happens all the time. I mean, I work homicides.
Okay.
But I also work deaths that are not homicides, right? So it happens all the time. Just because you're listed as one, just because you're thought of as one, or considered as one, doesn't necessarily change anything right off the bat. And then even when it comes to talking to law enforcement, you still have the right to say, hey, I would feel more comfortable if I could talk with an attorney present.
Yeah.
Then at that point, questioning stops. It's done.
Okay.
But if you have nothing to do with it, if you are not directly responsible for this person's death, then what do you have to lose? You know what I mean? So all the shows, movies, YouTube, whatever you see out there, that is completely different and doctored from what reality is. Trust me, I thought that, watching Cops, the first 48 and all that was like, that had to be as realistic as possible. But coming from somebody that's been on the job now for almost a decade and been in homicide for a few years, I can tell you that there's a lot that those shows don't show you because it's just not entertaining. To take away from the thrill, take away from the fantasy or whatever that society has regarding that kind of stuff.
So are you saying that
trust me, it's not as
are you saying that the law enforcement they don't pursue cases and get people thrown in prison who actually are innocent? Like that doesn't happen? Not necessarily that has to be malicious intent, but that mistakes are made or whatever, and they think they have the right guy, and because I've heard a lot of cases of mistakes were made and people end up in prison when they weren't the guy. Evidence comes out later or whatever, DNA evidence or something was
right.
not fully presented,
right.
And so yeah.
No, you're absolutely. So I would be wrong to tell you that every investigation is perfect.
Yeah.
For people in general, humanity is imperfect.
Yeah.
Right. So for me to tell you that mistakes are not made, that would be incorrect.
Okay.
Mistakes can be made, 100%. 100% mistakes can be made.
Is there a better way?
The probability of those mistakes being made?
Yeah. Well, help me. Like, what would be an ideal way for somebody to inform like the ME of a body and not be associated with the case, like not do it anonymously and not
I gotcha. Well, I mean, you can do it anonymously right now. You can tell me, like, hey, there may or may not be a body in this location, and if you know the circumstances, or if you could guess the circumstances, cool. I'll take that note. Awesome. If you don't know the circumstances, then okay, awesome. We'll do our investigation. We'll figure out the circumstances ourselves. But as far as you calling the ME, the ME's office is not going to respond to a normal citizen calling unless it's like a funeral home or something like that, or like a hospital.
And that's where I'm confused. Yeah, I think that's like the crux of my confusion is because the statute, and it's the only statute I found with this duty to report obligation on the public. It's not to report it to you guys; it's to report it to the ME's office. And when I ask them, they say, "Oh no, you need to talk to law enforcement." So I'm like, "Well, based on what?" You know, and that's where I'm confused. Like, I'd rather not talk to you guys out of fear of my own liberty and everything. And but I'm also trying to make sure the right thing is done.
I got you. Well, I'm trying to make sure the right thing's done too. So I don't, like I said, I don't know you. I don't know your name. All right. I'm Seth Gassman. I'm a detective within the Orange County Sheriff's Office Homicide Unit. I don't know you. All right. I don't have your information. I don't have your number. Okay. But if you can give me whatever information you do have right now, then what our response is to have law enforcement go out, confirm, hey, yeah, there's a body here. Yes, call me. They notify me, confirm it, and then together with forensics and the medical examiner's office, we respond out. So that is the standard operating procedure for us. You got to think, this day and age, if the medical examiner's office gets a call and the call is, hey, I am citizen Joe Smith and I'm reporting a death, they're going to tell you, hey, okay, did you call law enforcement? You need to call law enforcement first. They may take some information. They may not. I don't know. I don't know what their policies are, because the medical examiner's office is not the sheriff's office.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So, if they say, hey, we don't know you, we don't know if you're joking, we're not responding out there alone, we respond in tandem with law enforcement, so call law enforcement first. If they say that, that's what they say. And it's completely reasonable for them to do that, because you can imagine how many false or prank calls might come in if that were the standard. For somebody to call them and be like, hey, there's a body out here. Then they send out their people, they go looking, and then they're like, okay, well, there's not a body here. We just wasted our time. It happens with law enforcement all the time.
Right.
Right. So that's why it wouldn't go through necessarily through the medical examiner's office.
Yeah.
But we would work in tandem with them. So, I understand that the law doesn't particularly instruct you, as a citizen, or me as a citizen, to call law enforcement first. And that's a good point. I never thought about it that way, so that's a good point.
Yeah.
But as far as reporting it honestly, like while we're talking, you can tell me, hey, there is a body in this location. And then, of course I'm going to have additional questions. That's my job, right? I'm going to have additional questions.
Yeah.
If you know the answers, cool. If you don't, cool. It's, neither here nor there. I would just appreciate the fact that, you're calling, and yeah, you have a right to be concerned about your rights. And as far as like what the process is and what you can and can't do, or what you should and shouldn't do, that's fine. I mean, sure, it's a little odd. We don't get these calls all the time, but
Yeah.
I don't mind having it.
Yeah.
Obviously. So,
okay. Well,
I can take
on
the
that
information that you do have.
Yeah, on that note, like on my rights, if I don't want to give you any information, if I don't want to like make the report to you guys, would you conduct an investigation into this phone call or into me? Like what would your response be?
Well, that's a question that has a lot of variables into it. If you're reporting a death and we respond out and we find out, hey, this is a medical emergency, or this is a suicide, or this is somebody that slipped and fell, hit their head, and
No,
they're dead.
hold on. Maybe
I don't know where you are.
Yeah, hold on.
I don't know if you're.
Hold on. Maybe I misspoke. Like if I just decide to hang up the call in 3 seconds, or I say thanks for trying to help me figure it out, and then we end the call amicably, but I don't want to give you any information. I'm not satisfied that I'm required under the law to report it to you. Would you then investigate this call and investigate me? Like, what would your response be?
Well, I mean, everybody has an ability to call and ask questions.
Yeah.
You know, not everybody that calls to ask a question, law enforcement gets an investigation. Obviously, this is an odd question.
Yeah.
And, you know, if we're going to be honest with each other, I'll be fully transparent. You know, obviously, I don't think this is necessarily a hypothetical situation. I think it's something that, you know, you're obviously nervous about, which is completely understandable.
Yeah.
But again, you know, what I'm asking is, you know, why not do the right thing and at least let that person's family be at peace, knowing that, you know, they know the condition of their loved one.
Right.
Rather than just hanging up and letting that, you know, be an unknown for however long
Right.
it is until that person ends up getting found. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, what would you want for yourself? If you know, if you were to end up passing away, wouldn't you want your family or someone that cares about you to know where you are?
Yeah, definitely want them to have that peace of mind. And that's why I'm calling, right? I'm trying to figure out that, but also want to make sure that I'm protected too, you know. So,
I got you.
I don't know, man.
Well,
it's tough. I don't know what to do. So,
I
all right.
understand. Could you point me in the right direction as to where this body may end up being?
No, I think I still need to.
So we can leave.
Maybe I need to call a lawyer or something and see if they can give me better direction. But thank you for trying. Appreciate it.
Okay. Are you gonna call back after you talk to an attorney?
We'll find out what they say. They may say not to. Well, but thank you.
I got you. Can I give you a direct number to contact me at?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready to copy it down.
Go ahead.
All right. It's 407 415 2012.
2012. All right. And it was Castle?
Castleman. I'll tell you how to spell it.
Oh, Castleman.
It's Kasselman. First name is Seth. Seth.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Seth. And thanks for telling me your story. All right. Thank you, man.
No, I got you. Can I get a first name for you? Or
No.
nickname or something?
No, not right now. But no, thanks.
Okay.
All right. Bye.